Hey, I'm live, but I'm starting prematurely because I've got to switch. Working. I'll have to check this when I'm done and see if the microphone works correctly because it's lit up. Here's my little mic right here. Let's bring this in. Usually you see that as part of the picture, right? And if I turn that way, the white wall washes me out. All right, this is good enough. We're good enough. Thanks for joining me. Today is this still March the 14th? I believe it is March the 14th, 2019. So we missed yesterday. This is a live daily program, and yesterday we missed. I had a lot going on yesterday, and since I'm not doing this at the same exact time live every day, came up a little short and never got to it. I kept thinking all day long, I got to get on and do the presentation on moving markets, and I didn't get it. But anyway, it's the 14th. We missed today, and it was a big day. Listen, Dow Jones had, I think it's biggest day of the week yesterday, and here I was missing in action, not able to report on it. I'm going to tell you really quickly, though, yesterday, even though by the time all was said and done, let's see, the Dow finished the day before down just a little bit at 25,554, and then yesterday it finished up at 25,702. 150 points, 150 some odd points, 148 points to the day yesterday on the Dow. And today, after wobbling back and forth all day long, we were up, we were down, we were up, we were down. The Dow managed to just scratch into positive territory today. Now, the S&P didn't fare as well, down 0.9%, or excuse me, 0.9%, not even 0.1%. And the Nasdaq down 0.16%, so not even a 0.25% on the Nasdaq. But the Dow today managed to finish to the upside, and largely, I believe. Sorry, I'm less prepared for this than I usually am. So in the Dow today, you had the biggest gainers were Verizon, Apple, and Nike, respectively. We're coming right up close to a Nike's earnings report in about a week. That's going to be something big. But they were the ones propping the Dow up. And then on the downside, you had Pfizer, Intel, and Dow DuPont that were dragging a little bit on the Dow. Boeing was once again dragging on the Dow. Boeing's had a rough go of things. We talked about Boeing, and I shared some thoughts with you a couple of days ago about Boeing and how it might be a little bit premature and a little bit unfair, but maybe not unjustified. I'm still going to say a little bit premature, a little bit unfair, but maybe not unjustified. And I think there is a difference between that. Even when I say unfair versus unjustified, I got to do something with the light here because yeah, I'm noticing that big shiny spot on my head. I usually have a hat on, and I got one of these automatic light things that I can dim it down. Watch this. You ready for this? Let's dim this light down a little bit. Hopefully it won't make my face too dark. I can get rid of that shiny spot on there. It's not getting the shiny spot gone, is it? That help a little bit? Whoa, that's too dark, right? Let's try it right about there. Look, I've been told I have a face made for radio, so if you can't see my face really well during this, so be it. I'm not overly worried about that. All right. Sorry for the distraction. That's the advantage of just recording something off the cuff and not taking time to edit it and fix it and change it around. But so back to Boeing for a minute. 4 days in a row, it has been a drag on the Dow. You know where the Dow would be right now were it not for Boeing being down like it is? I mean, if Boeing wasn't down the way it is right now, or the way it has been this week, this market it's sitting at 25,709. We'd be sitting at all-time highs, I think, if Boeing were trading right now at 372. If Boeing was back up to the 420 something, was it 440, 420? Where was Boeing at recently? If Boeing was back up there, all I'm saying is this: if Boeing was back up there at its recent highs, you would have the Dow Jones Industrial Average. I think the highest Boeing got was 446.01. If Boeing was back at 446.01, folks, you would have a new all-time record on the Dow Jones Industrial Average, and it probably would have pulled the S&P and the Nasdaq up as well. As it is, I'm not complaining. Boeing is a good company. Boeing is a strong company. Boeing, in fact, I'm going to say this. I think Boeing is a lights-out good company. And Boeing is going to be a phenomenal buy opportunity shortly. It's not yet. There is still room for Boeing to go down. If you were to look at a chart and just do some technical analysis on Boeing, they're testing a little bit of a support level around 370. Next level of support is probably down at 340 or 350. I could make a case for both of them, looking at some lines on the chart. And then you've got the possibility that Boeing, look, on December 24th, in fact, Boeing dipped a little bit and then came back up. But on December 25th, Boeing hit a low of 291.01. Boeing went from 291.01 up to 440 in a little over 2 months. There's a lot of room for this stock to still fall. There's a lot of room for it to still slide. I think the buy opportunity is going to come on Boeing probably around 350. I think the dust is going to settle somewhere in the neighborhood of $350. And at 350, I think I'm getting into Boeing. I honestly am. I've owned Boeing stock off and on for a lot of years. I have some Boeing stock in one portfolio that I have, family portfolio that I manage right now. So full disclosure, I own Boeing. I still think they're a phenomenal stock. I'm going to be buying more shares of Boeing and maybe getting into some long positions with options come that 350 price if they get down that far. And I'll be careful. I'll hedge myself. They could go down and touch 290 or 300 again like they did in December. I don't think the damage is going to be that bad. I think you're going to see Boeing come up with some kind of a fix that's going to have planes back in the air pretty quickly. I heard someone say the other day, they were talking about the Boeing 737 MAX 8, that if all flights that use that particular plane were grounded, it was going to have some massive devastating effect on air travel and stuff. Not so. American Airlines has some of these planes in the air. I think it's less than 5% of their fleet overall. And Southwest Airlines has some of these planes in the air, or has had them in the air in the past recently. And in the recent past, that's the way I meant to say that. And I think it's like not even 5% of their fleet. So I could be wrong on those numbers, but the numbers I heard were pretty low. We're not talking about a massive number of aircraft, but a lot of the outstanding orders that Boeing have right now are for the 737 MAX 8, the 737 MAX 9. That's where Boeing could potentially take a hit. Even if there's some liability on Boeing's part to take some steps to fix these planes that are grounded right now, I don't think that's going to hurt their top end, bottom end, as much as possibly losing some orders, having people scale back on some orders, or people cancel orders completely. That could potentially be damaging and hurt Boeing. So we'll have to keep a close eye on that. Yesterday, I was offline yesterday, and I'm getting this kind of late in the day today because I spent the day skiing today, and that's when you own a company and you want to go skiing in the beautiful mountains of Utah. Brighton Ski Resort was phenomenal today, absolutely amazing today. I went with a good friend, neighbor of mine, and I went snowboarding. Actually, I say I went skiing, but I went up to Brighton Ski Resort and snowboarded all day. And so good times, having fun. At age 50, I'm up there snowboarding, folks. It's fantastic. And I only taught myself a few years ago how to snowboard, so I love it. But we missed out yesterday having any commentary, any talk about this scandal that's going on with this college tuition thing. Now, and this is interesting because I'm going to comment a little bit on it. I'm going to give you my thoughts on it. But this is not really affecting the market. It's a big story, but it's really, I don't see it having any major impact on the market, unless, I'm going to throw one caveat out there, because I always want to give myself a lifeline for any opinion that I have on anything. The caveat to the possibility that this does have an effect on the market is simply going to come down to one thing and one thing only. It's going to come down to, as we hear about additional names, some of the names we hear about are going to be some pretty big prominent people, maybe not celebrities, but I think there are going to be a lot more celebrities names who come out. The reason I say as we hear about more names is because I've heard numbers ranging between 35 and 55 people who were indicted, plus this guy Springer, who was the head of all this and ran the thing. And then, of course, Lori Loughlin and Felicity, whatever her name is. I don't even know her last name, Hoffman, whatever. Anyway, they're getting all the press right now because they're the two most well-known celebrities that are caught up in this thing. And you could say that's unfair, but hey, with the celebrity and the fame goes the good and the bad. If you're going to be doing this kind of stuff and you already got the big name, you're a big name celebrity, you're going to be the one that gets. I mean, they're the two that have their pictures all over everything. And I don't feel sorry for them in the least. I mean, they've done this to themselves, so there's nothing to feel sorry about. But the most interesting thing that I heard yesterday, and yesterday was day 2 of this. This news broke on Tuesday. Wednesday, it became the leading story of the entire day. And outside of the financial world, was one of the lead stories today as well for a good portion of the day. I saw some different headlines up towards the top of the news feeds just in the last half hour or so. But here's what could have something like this affect the markets. Because I mix a lot of politics and I mix a lot of current events into this presentation, but I want to keep it, generally speaking, I want to keep it market focused. Unless I just really feel like going off on something political, which I do sometimes. So you've got this guy Springer, who's at the core of all this, the guy that was actually running this organization and doing all this stuff. I heard yesterday, I don't know if this is 100% verified or not, but I heard that in exchange for some leniency, I mean, the guy's going to go away. The guy's going to do some hard time. There's no way in the world any prosecutor is going to let him get out of doing some hard time. But in exchange for some leniency, a reduced sentence or something, apparently the people who have already been indicted is somewhere between 35 and 55 people. And Springer is saying, he is saying that there are upwards of 700 more people whose names he's giving up. I got to believe there's a lot of people in Hollywood right now that are making plans to get out of town or probably get out of the country. Some that have enough money that they can live elsewhere are probably going to for a while. And I think there's going to be a lot of CEOs of companies. Now, if you get into CEOs and chairmen of boards of big major organizations that influence the stock market top to bottom. And I just hypothetically, a company as big as Boeing that has as much impact as it has on the movement of the Dow Jones Industrial Average. You get a company like that and you find out that some key officers there or some CEOs, some high-level members of the board are looking at potentially doing jail time. That's the type of thing that could rock the stock market. And don't be completely shocked if that happens. Don't be stunned if that's what goes on. I don't know. It's this thing is unfolding and it's got a lot of moving parts already. And I got to tell you, so far I've only heard that USC, University of Southern California, and there may be other schools that have said this. I have only heard about USC as far as the schools that have been listed. And you've got Yale. I've got a son-in-law that goes to Yale. He's not shocked by it at all. He says there's so much corruption at that school. It's scary. But you've got Yale, you've got Wake, you've got Georgetown, you've got USC and UCLA, you've got Texas. I'm probably missing some others. Duke, I heard that one of the coach of some athletic team or some physical activity team at Duke has been fired. And I'm probably just I'm scratching the surface. There's some others that I'm sure that are out there. But and if you've got 700 more people that have been involved in this, I'm going to tell you there's probably a whole bunch more colleges that are involved in this as well. So USC is the only school I've heard say through some official channels that they're going to review every degree that was given, every student that's currently enrolled there that is a part of this, and everyone who may be currently in the application process. I think the most interesting thing is if you start reviewing degrees that have already been given. I don't know what the recourse is there. I believe a school can strip someone of a degree if they find out after they've received that degree that there was something nefarious going on. I know a person who's in school right now can be kicked out, and the colleges certainly have ample reason to do that. And certainly someone who's currently somewhere in the admission process, like maybe they've been accepted, but they haven't started classes yet, they're gone. I mean, every one of these schools has got to have those people gone. I heard someone say that it's unfair to those that went to these schools. So they're talking about the kids of these rich people that, very illegally got into these schools. Or at least their parents performed acts or were complicit in acts that were illegal. And through this cheating and this scam, they got into these schools. So someone said it's completely unfair to take someone who maybe they didn't get to the school under the correct way, but they did well at the school. They graduated. They've got a degree. They may be a lawyer, a doctor, a successful business person right now. And I've heard some people say that it would be unfair to strip them of these degrees. I don't think so. Here's a simple fact, folks. I don't believe very many of these kids that have gone through, number one, don't call them victims of anything. These are kids that have grown up with incredible wealth and privilege. There is no victimhood on the part of these children and these young adults, even the ones that have graduated and are adults now. This goes back to 2011. So imagine someone that got into school in 2011, maybe went through 4 years of undergraduate work to 2015, got a law degree by the end of 2017, and they've been practicing law for a couple of years, maybe successfully. Strip them of their degree. Take it away from them. There's nothing unfair about that, in my opinion. These are people who, in every instance, they have grown up with wealth and privilege. They may not have known that their parents did this, but let them take away their degree and strip them of their livelihood and let them have that conversation with their parents. Let them go sit down with mom and dad and say, Mom and Dad, you've really screwed up my life. Because you allowed me to believe, and then this is for the ones that are innocent. I think there's probably a lot of these kids that have gone through these programs, and there's not a lot of innocence there. There's not a lot there's not a lot of evidence in this is just my opinion. I don't know this for a fact. There are a lot of these kids who knew the system was being gamed for them. Maybe they didn't know the extent to which their parents were participating in something that was illegal. But there is some evidence already that some of these kids knew that things were being rigged for them. They knew that mom and dad were making some calls, mom and dad were pulling some strings. Now, they may have, if this has been done for them their entire lives, they may have thought, hey, mom and dad always pull strings. When I was in trouble in high school, they pulled strings. When I got my first DUI, they pulled some strings. When, chances are these kids have had strings pulled for them their entire lives in some cases. But that doesn't make it okay. That doesn't make it okay for these parents to help these kids skate through life like that. I say take away their degrees to every single one of them, every single instance, and let those who were possibly 100% innocent of any knowledge of any of this going on. Maybe some kid knew that they were a pretty good student and there's a lot of schools they could have gotten into, but maybe they just weren't quite on that level where they could have got into a Yale or a Georgetown or Texas or USC. Maybe there's some legitimacy that they weren't total slackers, that they weren't total slouches and mom and dad weren't doing every single thing for them. But they had to, at the very minimum, been a little bit suspicious that they had special circumstances with which they could have, taken a proctored ACT test or SAT test. Certainly the ones that got into athletic positions in athletics that they didn't even play, they know something fishy was going on. So whatever you do, don't call these kids victims. Don't call the schools victims. Some of these schools are saying, well, we didn't know Coach so-and-so was doing this, or we didn't. So what? It's your job as the school administration to know that. If you're going to be the dean of a school, if you're going to be on the board of that school, you better know what's going on. You better know about every single scholarship that's being given and every single kid that's getting into your school and what the circumstances are of them getting in. These colleges are just flat out lazy in a lot of ways, just for the simple fact that this could have happened. These colleges are lazy, but strip every one of these kids of their degree, and then after that, go back and visit a case by case basis. Strip them of the degree, and then sit down with them and say, okay, we're going to give you an opportunity to get this degree legitimately, and it's going to start with your ability to pass a college entrance exam that we're going to administer to you, and it's it's going to be proctored by us and nobody else. That's what I'm telling you. That's what I would do if I was the dean of Yale right now. If I was the dean of Yale right now, I would look at, and a lot of names are going to come out. A lot of names that they don't know about are going to come out. I would look at every single one of them. I don't care if they were a straight A student once they got in. If they got into Yale illegally or by cheating and breaking these rules, step one, strip them of their degree. I don't care if once they were in college they were a straight A student. Strip them of their degree. Let them go back and have that conversation with mom and dad about how they screwed them over, and then let them come back to the school board to the dean and the board of whoever at the school, and then let them make their case. Then let them appeal to the board and say, we're going to hear each one of these cases. It may take a little while. We're going to hear each one of these cases, and on a case-by-case basis, we're going to decide whether to reinstate your degree. Students that are there right now, kick them out the door right now today. If nothing else, it's the only way for these schools to save themselves from further liability of the massive lawsuits that are coming their way from kids that didn't get in, who were deserving to get in, and were doing it through the right means. This is a big deal. This is a big deal. I think in the next week or two, it's going to hit the stock markets. It's going to hit the U.S. markets, because I think we're going to hear about some big name people, and I mean some really big name people, head of companies, head of some major companies. And I think when it hits some of those kind of people, we're going to find out that there is some effect on the market, because CEOs are going to be fired. There's going to be changeovers in board of directors. We already know of some CEOs that have been guilty of this, but when we get into some of the really big corporations, watch out. There's a chance it's going to happen. I'm going to wrap up right there. So sorry we missed an episode yesterday, but we're back on track, and we'll be back again tomorrow. And thanks, everybody. Enjoy your Friday. Friday is tomorrow, and I'll mention this again when we do this tomorrow morning. But hope you had a great day. I had a great day on the ski slopes and the snowboard slopes at Brighton. Fantastic. Hope everybody else had a great day. Bye-bye.